Hello, this is my media clip project, and my name is Ariana Estrada. Students who have learning disabilities have difficulties in math and reading. They have difficulties in math due to the memorization of their math facts and the processes that involve certain equations. And in reading, they have challenges with phonics, word identification, and fluency. And both of those content areas have to do with memory, short, long, and working memory. So if they are lacking some of that memory, then they're not going to do very well in those areas that require that memory. And to help with that, we can use technology in the classroom for the students to practice their math facts, to practice a certain vocabulary that they have, and they can do that independently. And then when it comes to group work, the teacher can pull them aside and work with them independently as well. So two different ways to teach them would be useful for them to see that they're both just trying to get them to practice those skills that they need. And when a teacher is giving her lessons orally, I'm a visual, so I need to see examples of what is being said so I can make connections with those words and what is being said. That is very helpful to me, and I'm sure it's helpful to all the students as well. Providing examples is something very important for all the students because you don't want to be repeating the same instructions all the time. And if you have an example of what you're expecting on the board or on the projector, then that's a lot easier for them to see and for them to see of what is expected of them. When it comes to behaviors, they can use response to intervention, and that has 3 tires that can be used for the teacher to use, and that can be modified to meet the needs of the student and the teacher, and it can be modified at any time. It's not something that is strictly structured and should be followed step by step. Students who have communication disorders have speech and language disorders. A speech disorder is a disorder where the student has difficulties pronouncing a word, and a language disorder is receiving that information and trying to understand what is being said. So students with communication disorders communicate with American Sign Language or gestures and body language. And something that is very helpful is learning by doing. And that can be very helpful for them to do, and because they're seeing what needs to be done, and they can practice that until they, it clicks and they remember how to do it. Also, assistive technology is important. There are technology in school nowadays that are essential for all of them, for all the students. And for communication disorders, we can help by having applications that have pictures with a certain word underneath it, like having a stop sign with the word stop, and things like that they're able to use to communicate with the rest of the students and the teacher. And there are 2 questions you should consider when trying to make your lesson plans, and those questions are, how do I teach these students, and how can they express what they learned? When you have an idea of how you want to teach and that you think the students will understand and they'll be able to express what they understand, then that is wonderful because you're reaching them and they are going to understand what you're teaching. And there are also learning strategies that they can use, like using mnemonic strategies by having certain words that link to new words that they haven't learned, using that prior knowledge to build on that new knowledge that they're gaining. And graphic organizers can be very useful for that. You could have graphic organizers that are already created, you can find on the web, or you can create them yourself on Microsoft Word or buy them. I mean, there's so many options, and there's so many options of the different types of graphic organizers that there are, and those are very beneficial for all the students, not just students with communication disorders. Social relationships is something that they need to work on, and that's something that all students need to work on, so that we all get to get along with each other. Emotional or behavioral disorders. Students can't learn by intellect, sensory, or health factors, and they also lack interpersonal relationships. And that can be due to their behaviors that they have. They could be behaving inappropriate during odd times or have moods during situations where it shouldn't have to be portrayed. So one time they could be crying and the next time they could be laughing. And that can sometimes freak out a child if they don't know, what's going on, And they also have physical symptoms like nausea or fear and anxiety, and that can lead to the low average scores that they receive, because if a child is scared and has anxiety and is not focused in class, and they're not taking notes, and they're not taking anything that they're learning, and they're not studying and doing their homework, they're not going to do very well, because they're not focused on that. They're focused on what is on their head, how they're fearing something, whether it's school related or personal related. And to help with that, we can help students focus on their strengths that they have and build on those strengths, and use multimodal and technology to incorporate into the curriculum and help them advance and get past those physical symptoms that they may have. And we can also do that by incorporating the classroom-centered intervention, which helps students become mastery learners and create the good behavior game that they may look forward to, where the winner has to have the least behaviors, and that is the winner of the week. We could also use positive behavior support, giving them, positive feedback or good rewards for that good behavior that they have, and reprimanding them for the bad behavior that they're displaying. Students who have attention deficit hyperactivity, hyperactivity disorder, there are three types of ADHD. We have predominantly inattentive, which are students who are usually not disruptive and have anxiety or mood disorders. And then we have predominantly hyperactive impulsive, which are students who fidget a lot with their hands, with their feet, and they have to be in motion. They have to be up. They cannot stay seated for long periods of time. And then the third type is the combined type, which is a combination of both of the ones mentioned previously. And they also have behavior and social and emotional disorders. And to help with that, we can use time. Time is important. We have to make sure we give students enough time to transition from one activity into the next, and also enough time to complete their homework or classwork during class for both predominantly inattentive and hyperactive impulsive students. And simplifying homework or simplifying classwork and focusing on the topic or the main idea of what is trying to be being taught. Giving hyperactive impulsive students enough time to go get a break and go walk, deliver things, get a drink. Organizational skills and goal setting are also very important. They help students take care of themselves and become more independent, because they are setting these things. They need to be doing these things for themselves, and that's something that they can use in the real world. So organizational skills and goal settings is something that all students can benefit from. Intellectual disability, limitations in intellectual functioning. Students who have who lack in short, long, and working memory, and they have difficulty in content areas such as reading, writing, and math, because of the memory that they are lacking as well. That doesn't very much help them, because they're lacking that memory. They can't recall that information for math, for reading, or for writing. And limitations in adaptive behavior, which are students who score 2 standard deviations below the median or the mean, and then sometimes they're clueless and they don't know what is going on. So to help with that, we can have memory training for the students so that they work on those skills and build on those skills. And having paraprofessionals in the classroom is something that can be very beneficial, and something that can make the teachers' lives a little bit easier. Using e-readers is something that students would love to use, especially if they can't read themselves. And they can still hear stories and enjoy that. They also need to work on skills such as money and time, because we use that in our everyday life. And self-care is also very important for all the students. Autism. There are 2 major domains. We have social communication impairments and repetitive restrictive behaviors. They also have atypical language development, which is the repetition of phrases and words. They have problem behaviors that range from self-inflicted injuries to tantrums, and sensory movement disorders where they have like a delay in the movement that they're trying to do. To help with that, we have positive behavior support. And with that, reward them with a high five or with a, pat on the back, something that, lets them know that they're doing good. Modifications can be done when necessary if there is a kid who's acting out at a certain time or in a certain place. Again, build on the strengths of the students and build on those to improve. We have curriculum adaptations and augmentations, help the students become used to the classroom or become more involved in the classroom with the other students. And we have cognitive learning strategies that can be used to recall information, like graphic organizers are important that can be used, and self-directed learning strategies that students can learn so that they can stay on topic or on task. Then we have traumatic brain injury, students who share characteristics with communication disorders, emotional behavior disorders, and they have physical changes that occur to them, which is weakness, tiredness, lack of coordination, and there's also cognitive and academic changes, and emotional behavioral social changes. And this is all affected by the age of when the injury has occurred. And to help with that, we have to make sure we're partnered with everybody involved in the student's life. And technology is important because it compensates for the lack of memory skills or things that they are not doing very well that technology can help with. And mnemonic strategies help them build on their vocabulary skills or new knowledge that they're trying to learn. They can, the teachers have to assure themselves that when they are presenting, that they're going at an appropriate pace and that they're giving them enough time to answer questions throughout the presentation. Students who have hearing loss have academic problems because there are barriers. They have social and emotional development issues, and there are usually 3 types of communication. There's oral, which is speaking, American Sign Language, and simultaneous, which is a combination of English language and American Sign Language. And to help with that, we have vocabulary development strategies that can help students build upon the vocabulary. And interpreters are very crucial for this because we need to make sure that the student is learning what is being taught. And if there is no communication then between American Sign Language and English, then the student's not going to learn. Assistive technology, such as computers and closed captioning, are important for the student to have so that they are included into the classroom. Visual impairments are limitations to learn from the environment, and they have inadequate developments because of that. We grow up seeing things and learning that way, but people that are blind can't, so they are not able to learn as fast as we are, and they also have difficulties getting around new places that they don't know. To help with that, we have to make sure we select the appropriate learning medium, which is either print or Braille. If it's print, we can use assistive technologies such as magnifying devices or enlarging images. And we need to expand core curriculum. We have to focus also on the daily skills that they haven't attained yet, that they will need when they become adults. One-on-one is important, and hands-on learning is also important because they are not using if they don't use their vision, they need another way to learn, and that can be with the sensories of your fingertips. And having a person who understands what they're going through that can help them get through as well. And then the gifted and talented students have general intellect, creativity, and leadership ability, visual performing artistry, and overall they have lower levels of anxiety and depression. These students are super talented, and they usually score an IQ score over 125 and qualified as gifted. To help with that, we have to make sure that we are challenging these students every day, and we can do that by having an accelerated education or a curriculum extension technique that goes more into depth. And cognitive taxonomies are super important that help students and the teacher set the lesson plan.